Hello, welcome to The Agent is In. Nick, would you like to say something fun at the beginning?
Yeah. Episode 21.
All right.
Troubleshooting with CF support. So,
And,
Craig, I know that you've been working on this tool for a bit to kind of streamline some data collection stuff for when we're looking into weird issues that are going on. So,
correct.
can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, I can. All right. So we wrote this little tool called CF-support because we have a predilection for making CF-something commands, programs. In this case, it's a plain old bash script. So recently, we had a release. So you go to blog and click on releases. There, release is 3/21. Released it back on, interestingly, 12/21/22. So really cool numbers in there. So we did a lot of stuff in this release, and we also did CF support. So CF support has been introduced. The tool is intended to streamline data collection when reporting issues. So where this comes from for us is when we get trouble tickets, when we do support tickets or community, support tickets are on the help list. A lot of times we'll have to go back and forth many times, maybe 3 to 5 or even more, to figure out little details that we need to know that are really important. And I do support along with Nick and a few other people in the company for CFEngine. And I found it frustrating for both myself and for the other people, because you can kind of jump to conclusions when you don't know all the pieces. And then you have to wait for somebody to reply, and then they have to wait for you to reply. And so we wrote this tool, and we had it a kind of a script laying around, I think, at some point, and it just wasn't kind of minted and published and made public. So this is in the core repo, which is the open source core of CFEngine, and it's in miscellaneous CF support. And as you see, it is a classic POSIX shell script because we support some odd platforms that don't really like bash and whatnot. So let's get on a terminal here, and I will SSH over to my Raspberry Pi, which is currently a enterprise hub. And we just, by default, with 3/21 and beyond, the CF support command is, well, here, I'll run it as a non-root user, is just built in. Oh, see, there's a little fudge there. I actually just fixed that a little while, like a week ago. So I have a slightly old version here, but that's okay. So anyway, if I do CF support, it'll ask me for a case number, maybe 7654, something like that. It'll do various things, collect various information. And because this is a hub, it'll ask me a question about if I want to include master files, which is awfully helpful sometimes. Well, many times, because the policy has a big impact on how things work. So it's adding that. And now in this directory, I should have a fresh little tarball here for the support case. So the ticket number here is here, the host name is here, and then a date and timestamp is there. When we look inside of it, I think I already did one of these. Yeah, okay. So we have a whole bunch of files in here. The first file I would look at is a system info file, which shows you basic information like host name, uname-a, just tell us everything about the system, what release it is, what version of CFEngine, memory, file systems, what the top commands are, the top processes rather, some networking information, mounts. We can see which hosts, which agents have contacted this agent. So a list of basically which hosts have bootstrapped to this hub. Also, we can see what version of policy is. We can see what the host key is for this host. We can dig through the state database, the LMDB databases that we use for locks and various things, and see if they're okay. There's a program called CFcheck, which can fix those if they're broken. So if any of these come back as a problem, then that would be maybe one of the first things we suggest to do to try to fix somebody's issue. We can look, see if the system service is running. Nick added this nice little thing to show what the access rules are. Make sure, if you're having a problem bootstrapping to a policy server hub, this might be the information you need to figure out why that's a problem. For the hub, the enterprise hub, we get a count of how many hosts have been bootstrapped, some various information about diagnostics and whatnot. We also have we have this core dump file log, which analyzes and gets stack traces from any core dumps that are on the system related to CFEngine. So that's really helpful. For the database, we have a list of, how big and what tables are big. Top 20, I think it is. Yeah, top 20. And so what this does is it really gives us all the information that we're probably going to need to know, kind of where the problem came from. And we can look at the script a little bit.
So this is different between core and enterprise, right? I mean, obviously on core, we're not going to be querying all of the database stuff. Where do you separate?
So if you look down here, we check to see if there's this other auxiliary script.
Okay.
That is the enterprise version or the enterprise edition to it, and we call that. And that's what will collect various other things. Yeah. So like including master files and also doing the database stuff happens only with the enterprise product. And that's the hub too, not just the enterprise client. The enterprise client doesn't have anything extra that we need to look at. Yeah, so we did some work recently. If we look at CFEngine.com and look at downloads, enterprise, we will see that 321 release includes some very normal suspects, Debian, CentOS, Red Hat, but it also includes Solaris 11, HPUX, AIX. And so in our CI systems, we run those weekly. We call them exotics. Not as many people use those, but recently we had to amend this script so that we check for various possibilities like HPUX, AIX, Solaris. And really cool thing I learned is that HPUX wins the prize for having the most awesome command, which is this print manifest command, which I think Ignite, if I understand it right, is an installer application. So the installer of the operating system prints this manifest that has amazing information, just like everything you want to know about everything, and it's right there. So I have to kind of recreate that slightly in the Linux world. I'm sure there's somewhere between 20 and 50 open source projects that kind of print a full system information about your Linux host. But this CF support has to use nothing basically, or as little as possible. Actually, towards that end, I'll have to show you a little, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, so I have to show you a little like an Easter egg almost. I needed to grep through this AIX error report command output, which has like chunks of stuff in between like bars of dashes. And I use Ed every day, the editor, and it just so happened that I felt like this expression of looking for something with CFEngine, going backwards and finding a dash line, and going forwards and finding a dash line, and including that was the most clear way that I could write that part of the script. I hesitated for a bit to include Ed, but you know, it's going to work on any system that's reasonable, unlike Linux, which doesn't include it by default. Anyway, that's a little bone to pick.
That looks awfully similar to the one that pulls out the access logs.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. So it's pretty nice. Yeah. So we do a lot of checking for different systems, and so we call different things for different systems. And you know, this first chunk of stuff, like from about here to all the processes and stuff down to the CFEngine specific stuff, that could be a real nice utility, you know, just kind of split out by itself, you know, just like kind of like I said, like, oh, it could be the kind of the XKCD comic about, you know, 15 standards and next year there's 16. Like we could add, you know, the system information tool for Linux number 53 with that bit of stuff.
I mean, it's also very similar to the, I mean, this is more comprehensive than the host info report that's in the MPF as well.
Right.
To generate a little, you know, one pager of kind of the stock stuff. Now, you mentioned that, I mean, we use this for, you know, interacting with like support or like, yeah, I've seen it being used already for some community tickets where we're tracing down some problem, but you also mentioned that we use it in CI, which is obviously a whole lot more frequent use case for us than
that's exactly where I'm going.
Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, so here, oh, apparently my internet connection is unstable. Great. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I guess it's not that unstable. So here we have this nice dashboard that our colleague Alexei made, which shows an overview of our nightly CI. We've got master 321 and 318. So here's the test that went wrong a bit. I'll go over and take a look at it. And so I can see that, let's look for, okay, so there's a pretty easy look for the failures. Exit valve 255, that was on this host. So I'll search for that host. And then I find that that's Debian 11. So then I look for this IP address. This is all just magic here, but I'm getting to the point here, 17202. So I go back to this test and look, I've got a bunch of CF support toggleballs. So what did I say, 202?
17202.
17202. I don't actually see, oh, it might have like taken the host name. Anyway, I can take one of these, download it, and then get out of my Raspberry. And so this is what I use to, let's do this first. This is what I use to diagnose problems in CI. So I can just look at this. And so like I can just, the first thing I look for is, did we have a core dump? Ah, well, we had a core dump. So that's probably the cause of the issue. And then I can just look at the stack trace and kind of get an idea where it is. I can, we also filter the syslog, however the system does kind of a syslog kind of thing. And val syslog, oh, it's not there. Rep core maybe? There it is, core dump, right. So then I can just pretty quickly get an idea of kind of where it went wrong. And that's just awesome because I was having a real hard time. You know, if we run into a problem that doesn't really explain itself too well from the logs that we get, you know, we can look here and see kind of a snippet of the log and see what failed, but maybe it doesn't really tell us what the actual issue was. But if we collect this information, we've got all this great information that we can use to diagnose the problem. We've got our install logs. So like I can just tail the install log and I can see, okay, well, it did install. Okay, great. By default, you know, we don't capture those logs any other way. And I figured I didn't want to write a bunch of stuff in our CI system to capture a bunch of stuff and just leave it there. I figured it would be much better to just make it a tool, send it out, and then, you know, you're good to go. You've got, you know, anybody can run it. And I've already used it several times with customers, and I think they really appreciate it because the conversation stays focused on the problem, not like, oh, run this command. Well, I did. Oh, no, you didn't. Oh, shucks. You didn't actually run that. You ran something else that you thought was kind of like it. You know, I mean, we had one person recently where we said, hey, clear the state directory. And they did exactly what we said. And unfortunately, that includes deleting the entire database. So, you know, precision, like giving them the tool that just is what it is so much better, I think. So,
Indeed.
yeah.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to using it more for some of my support cases as well.
Yeah.
So go upgrade. Make sure that you're running 3.18.3, 3.21.0. They both include the tool with the package.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Do you have anything else? Do you want to share about it, or any ideas for what's coming next for this tool?
For this tool, it's pretty good as it is. I'm pretty proud of the core dump stuff. So it does several different options. So like I did find that core dump control from system D is way better than the other options because it gives you context in the journal and it does a better job of kind of capturing meta information around the core dump. AP port unpack is pretty good. And then if that doesn't work, then we just use GDB, you know, and do the core dump that the backtrace that way. Yeah, right now I think it's pretty solid. There's a little bit of cleanup we need to do as far as like, you know, kind of organizing things, like the list of processes and then the list of top processes is kind of the same list and it's kind of long. And I want that system info thing to be kind of like a manifest that's relatively clear and concise. And then maybe put those off in different files. But you know, that's just refinement and not too bad. Yeah, I'm happy that also, you know, as part of this our CI, we do run the tool itself. So I was happy to have done that work. If I go over here in our system testing, deployment tests, new tests, sequential tests, basic, CF support test. So in here, I actually even let's see, CF support sweep runner. I actually even generate the core dump, and so I test to make sure that on every system that we support, that you know, capturing the core dump and getting the backtrace out of it works. Unfortunately, I think a couple of this, I think Solaris doesn't work yet. So, but that's okay. It does a lot. So
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, thanks for joining us for episode 21. We'll see you guys next month.